Far away in the cold, dark space, a small space station floated silently near the edge of a forgotten star system. The station was old and quiet. Most of the galaxy had forgotten this place. Only a few ships ever came here. The people on the station worked in silence, watching the stars. One night, the space station's signal receiver suddenly beeped. The alarm was soft but urgent. A strange message was coming through, something no one had heard before. The scientists on the station rushed to their machines. The message was weak, almost lost in the noise of space, but it was clear. It was a call for help. An SOS. The voice on the signal was filled with fear. It was an alien voice, one they did not recognize. The message was short and broken. Help! Danger! Enemy! They come! It repeated over and over like a warning. But where did it come from? The star system was unknown, far beyond normal space routes. The station commander, a calm and serious woman named Commander Arya, stared at the screen. This signal, it's real. Someone needs help, she said quietly. Around her, the room was tense. Some scientists whispered that it might be a trap. Many species in the galaxy ignored signals like this. Most thought it was dangerous to answer. Commander, we do not know who sent this. It might be a trick, warned one of her officers. If we go there, we might get attacked. Arya shook her head. We cannot ignore it. If this is a real SOS, it means someone is in trouble. We have to find out. Far away on Earth, a huge military ship was flying through space. It was part of the Deathworlder fleet. Deathworlders were known across the galaxy as the toughest and most fearless warriors. They came from a planet full of harsh conditions. They survived where others could not. They fought battles that no one else dared to fight. The fleet's commander, a tall man named Captain Roran, sat in his command chair watching his screen. His eyes were sharp and full of fire. He heard about the strange SOS signal. The galaxy was silent. No one wanted to help. But Roran was different. We answer every call for help, he said firmly. No matter where it comes from. No matter how dangerous. His crew looked at him with respect. They knew the Deathworlders' reputation. They were strong, brave, and sometimes cruel to their enemies. But they never left anyone behind. Prepare the fleet, Captain Roran ordered. We go to find this SOS source. We will not let anyone suffer alone. Back on the space station, Commander Arya and her team worked to learn more about the signal. They studied the star maps and tried to find the exact place where the message came from. It was difficult because the signal was weak and lost in the noise of space. According to this data, Arya said, pointing to a small distant star system on the map, this is the Dead Star sector. No ship has returned from there in years. Many call it a lost place. One of the scientists shivered. It's a place full of danger. No one dares to go there. But Arya was determined. We have to. If this signal is real, someone is alive and needs us. As the Deathworlder fleet prepared to leave, the rest of the galaxy watched quietly. Some hoped the Deathworlders would find a new enemy and fight. Others feared what might happen if the Deathworlders got involved. The fleet's journey was not easy. They had to fly through storms of charged particles that could destroy their ships. They passed through dark clouds where sensors stopped working. The crew felt the weight of silence and fear. Captain Roran stood on the deck of his flagship, looking out into the endless black. This mission is dangerous, he said quietly, but we do not run from danger. We face it. Suddenly, the fleet's sensors picked up a faint signal. It was the same SOS call. This time it was stronger, closer. Signal is getting closer, said the communications officer. We are near the source. Everyone in the fleet held their breath. They did not know what to expect. Would they find friends or enemies? Would the SOS lead them to hope or to death? The stars ahead looked cold and silent. The Dead Star sector was waiting. Captain Roran's voice was calm but strong. Prepare for anything. We go in ready to fight, or to save. The mysterious SOS was no longer just a message in the dark. It was a call that could change everything. The Deathworlder fleet moved slowly through the silent black of space. Captain Roran stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars pass by. The crew around him was tense but ready. Everyone knew this journey was dangerous. No one knew exactly what waited for them at the edge of the Dead Star sector. The SOS signal had led them here, but it was still a mystery. What kind of enemy could cause such fear? What kind of survivors could send a call so desperate? The fleet's ships were large and strong, built for battle and survival. Their metal hulls gleamed faintly under the distant stars. The Deathworlders had made many long trips before, but this one felt different. It felt like stepping into the unknown. Inside, the crew moved with quiet purpose. Some checked their weapons, others watched the sensors, and a few talked in low voices. The space was filled with the hum of machines and the soft footsteps of soldiers. A young officer named Mira stood near the communications console. She studied the SOS signal again. "The message repeats every 30 seconds, she said softly. "It's getting stronger. We are close." A veteran soldier beside her frowned. "Closer to what? An empty graveyard? A trap?" Mira shook her head. "I don't think it's a trap. Not this time." Captain Roran heard their voices. He stepped forward. "Fear is normal," he said firmly. "But we are Deathworlders. We face fear and make it our strength." The fleet crossed into the dead star sector. The stars around them looked strange, dimmer, colder. The space seemed heavy, like it was holding its breath. Old stories whispered about this place. Ships vanished here. Signals stopped. No one came back. On the bridge, the crew watched the radar closely. Small blips appeared and disappeared like ghosts. No signs of life, only silence. Suddenly, the fleet passed through a glowing cloud of charged particles. The storm hit the ships hard. Lights flickered, alarms rang. "Shields up. Brace for impact," Captain Roran shouted. The ships shook. The crew held on tight. Outside, the space storm swirled in bright colors. It was beautiful but deadly. After several tense minutes, the storm passed. The fleet was damaged, but still flying. The crew breathed deeply, thankful to survive. "We cannot stop now," Roran said. "The signal is ahead. We will find the source." The fleet moved on, deeper into the dark sector. At night, on the command ship, Roran sat alone in his cabin. He looked at the star maps and the SOS message. His mind was full of questions. Who sent the call? What enemy could be so strong? And why had no other species answered? Suddenly, the communications officer called him. "Captain, we have something." A small ship approaching. On the main screen, a tiny ship appeared from the darkness. It was old and damaged. It looked like a scout ship. Roran stood up. "Open a channel, let's hear what they have to say." The screen flickered. A strange, alien face appeared. The alien looked tired and scared. Their eyes showed pain and hope. "We received your message," the alien said weakly. "We are the last survivors. The enemy is near. Please help us." The room fell silent. The fleet had found the people who sent the SOS. Roran nodded. "We are coming. Stay strong." The alien's face faded from the screen. The crew felt a mix of relief and fear. "That was just the start," Roran said. "The real danger is still ahead." The fleet prepared to move to the small planet where the alien came from. It was a rough, rocky world with little air and strange storms. No one had ever landed there before. The crew felt the weight of history. If they failed, the SOS would be the last call ever heard from this place. But the Deathworlders were ready to fight, to survive, and to protect. As the fleet entered the planet's orbit, Captain Roran looked out once more at the strange, cold world below. "Whatever happens next," he said quietly, "we face it together. We are Deathworlders. We never back down." The Deathworlder fleet moved closer to the small, rocky planet. It hung in space like a cold, silent ghost. The planet's surface was cracked and broken, with huge canyons and dark deserts. No green forests, no blue oceans, only dust and stone. Captain Roran stood on the deck of his ship, watching the planet grow larger in the viewport. His face was hard and serious. "This place, it looks dead," he said quietly. Behind him, the crew felt the same chill. They had entered a system where life seemed to have vanished. The signal that had saved this place was faint now, barely reaching their instruments. It was a whisper from the shadows. The fleet scanned the planet carefully. No large cities. No obvious signs of life. Just ruins scattered like broken bones. One of the Deathworlder scientists, Dr. Sarah, pointed to the readings on her console. "There are faint life signs underground," she said. "Something is alive, but it hides deep beneath the surface." "Why?" asked one of the soldiers. "What scared them so much they had to hide?" Dr. Sarah shook her head. "We don't know yet, but we will find out." Captain Roran ordered a landing team to prepare. A small group of Deathworlder warriors and scientists would descend to the planet. They had to be ready for anything. Danger, traps, or worse. As the landing ship moved through the thin atmosphere, the view grew more frightening. Huge storms of dust and rock swirled below. Lightning flashed, but the sky was dark like night in the middle of the day. The ship touched down with a heavy thud on a cracked plane. The landing team stepped out, their boots crunching on the dry soil. The air was thin and the cold bit at their skin. Strange sounds echoed in the distance like whispers carried by the wind. Captain Roran led the group. "Stay close. Watch your backs." They moved carefully toward the nearest ruins, broken towers and half-buried buildings. The place was old, but signs showed it had been a home once. Suddenly the ground shook. A low rumble rolled through the canyon. "Earthquake?" asked a soldier. Dr. Sarah looked worried. "No, something large is moving underground." Before they could react, a deep growl echoed from the shadows. From the dark caves nearby, strange shapes moved. The landing team raised their weapons. The creatures that appeared were unlike anything they had seen. They were tall, thin, with glowing eyes and sharp claws. They looked scared but also angry. The creatures spoke in broken words. "Help. Save. Enemy coming." Captain Roran lowered his weapon slightly. "We came to help. Who is your enemy?" One of the creatures stepped forward, trembling. "The destroyers came from the stars. They kill all." The landing team exchanged worried looks. "Destroyers?" Roran asked. "What are they?" The creature's eyes filled with fear. "Machines, war, endless death." The survivors led the Deathworlders into an underground cave system. The deeper they went, the more signs of destruction they saw. Burned walls, broken machines, empty weapons. The survivors told their story. Long ago, their peaceful world was attacked by a vast enemy called the Destroyers. These were not normal soldiers. They were powerful war machines, built to destroy every living thing. The survivors had fled underground to escape. They sent the SOS signal, hoping someone would come before it was too late. Captain Roran listened carefully. "If these destroyers are so strong, how can we stop them?" One of the survivors showed a small device. "This old weapon can fight destroyers, but it is hidden, deep in the old city, too dangerous to reach." The Deathworlders understood their mission. They had to find this weapon and use it to save the survivors, and maybe the whole galaxy. As they prepared to leave the caves, a loud noise shook the ground again. Outside, the sky was filled with strange ships. The destroyers had arrived. "Captain," Roran's voice was calm but fierce. "Get back to the ships. Prepare for battle." The landing team rushed to the surface. The survivors followed, still scared, but holding hope. The Deathworlders moved fast. They were ready to fight. But the enemy was close and time was short. The dead star system was no longer quiet. It was the beginning of a war that could change everything. Captain Roran looked to the dark sky filled with destroyer ships. "We will not let this place fall. Not while we breathe." The first battle was about to begin. The sky above the dead star system was alive with the cold, harsh light of war. Strange ships, dark and sharp like blades, filled the blackness. These were the destroyers, war machines sent to kill everything in their path. Captain Roran stood on the deck of his flagship, eyes burning with determination. The Deathworlder fleet was ready. Their metal ships hummed with power, weapons charged and waiting. The silence before the battle was heavy, but no one on the fleet was afraid. "Prepare for combat," Roran ordered. His voice was calm but strong. "Today we fight not just for these survivors, but for every corner of the galaxy." The fleet spread out, moving into battle formation. The Deathworlder ships were built for war, strong and fast. Their engines roared as they charged forward toward the enemy. On the planet below, the survivors watched from their shelters. They had never seen such a powerful fleet before. Their hope grew with every passing second. Suddenly, the destroyers fired first. Bright beams of light cut through space, striking the Deathworlder ships. Explosions lit up the darkness. Roran's fleet dodged and returned fire. The battle was fierce and fast. Metal clashed with metal. Lasers sliced through the black sky. The destroyers were deadly, but the Deathworlders were stronger. Their warriors were fearless, their tactics sharp. They fought like a storm, wild, fierce, and unstoppable. Inside his ship, Roran gave orders with sharp precision. "Focus fire on their command ship! Break their formation!" The Deathworlder guns roared. One by one, the destroyer ships began to falter. Their shields flickered and died. But the enemy was not weak. More ships came from the shadows, faster and stronger. The destroyers did not stop. They pressed harder. On the planet, the survivors prepared for what might come next. Some prayed, some stood ready to fight. They trusted the Deathworlders, the only hope they had. Back in space, a smaller Deathworlder ship broke away from the main fleet. Captain Roran climbed into a fighter and flew straight toward the enemy command ship. His mission was dangerous, but clear: destroy the heart of the enemy. Roran's fighter zipped through the battlefield, dodging laser fire. His hands were steady on the controls. He felt the pulse of battle in his veins. As he got closer, the enemy ship released a swarm of small drones. They buzzed like angry insects trying to stop him. Roran fired his weapons, blasting the drones apart one by one. His fighter shook under the strain, but he did not stop. Finally, he reached the command ship. He launched a powerful missile. The BAPE explosion was massive, shaking the space around him. The destroyer command ship was crippled. Their fleet faltered, losing control. Roran's voice crackled over the comms. "Enemy command ship destroyed. Push forward. Victory is near." The Deathworlder fleet pressed the attack. The destroyers began to retreat, breaking off the battle. But the fight was not over. On the planet's surface, the survivors saw strange creatures rising from the deep caves. These were the enemy's ground troops, machines and monsters ready to attack. The landing team quickly formed a defense. Deathworlder warriors, trained for harsh battles, took their positions. Roran ordered the fleet to support the ground troops. Energy beams and missiles fired from above, lighting up the dark planet. The ground battle was brutal. The Deathworlders fought with all their strength. They protected the survivors, holding the enemy back. Despite the pressure, the Deathworlders never lost hope. Their courage was like fire in the darkness. In the middle of the fight, Dr. Sarah found something important: the old weapon the survivors had spoken about. It was a large, ancient cannon hidden in a deep cave. With the help of the landing team, she worked quickly to activate it. The cannon roared to life, firing a massive beam of energy into the enemy lines. The destroyer's machines shattered under the blast. The survivors cheered, their hope growing stronger. Captain Roran smiled grimly. "This is only the beginning. We will fight until the last star falls." As the first clash ended, the Deathworlders held the line. The destroyers had retreated, but only to regroup. The battle for the dead star system had begun, and it would be a war that none would forget. The battle had ended, but the war was far from over. The dead star system was quiet again, but the silence was uneasy, like the calm before a storm. Captain Roran stood on the command ship's bridge, staring at the planet below. The rocky, World looked even colder after the fight, scars of battle clear across its surface. We pushed the destroyers back, Roran said softly. But they will come again. We need answers. Dr. Sarah approached him, carrying datapads filled with readings from the caves and the ancient weapon. Captain, while the others fought, I studied the underground tunnels. There's something strange here. Roran nodded. Tell me. Sarah looked serious. The planet's core is unstable. The caves and tunnels are part of an old network, not natural. Someone built them long ago. Roran's eyes narrowed. Who? No one knows for sure, she replied. But the technology is ancient and advanced, older than anything we have seen. Could the survivors have built it? Roran asked. Sarah shook her head. No, their history is too short. This is something else. Roran turned to his officers. We need to explore deeper, find out what is really under this planet. A special team was formed. Deathworlder warriors, scientists, and the survivors who had sent the SOS. Together, they would uncover the secrets beneath the surface. The team prepared for a dangerous journey into the planet's core. They packed supplies, weapons, and special breathing gear for the thin air. As the team entered the caves, the air grew colder and heavier. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly in the dark. One of the survivors, Lyra, touched a symbol carefully. These markings, they tell a story, a warning. Warning about what? Asked Captain Roran. Lyra's voice was low. About the destroyers. About something worse. The deeper they went, the more the tunnels changed. The walls became smoother, metal plates replacing stone. Strange machines lay broken, half buried in dust. Dr. Sarah examined one machine. This technology is powerful. It could have destroyed stars. Suddenly the ground trembled again. The team froze. This planet is alive, said one of the warriors. It's fighting us. A loud rumble echoed through the tunnels. Dust fell from the ceiling. The team hurried forward, reaching a large chamber deep underground. In the center stood a massive machine, a giant silent structure covered in ancient markings. Sarah stepped closer. This is the source of the power, the weapon they spoke about, but it's asleep. How do we wake it? Asked Roran. Before Sarah could answer, the chamber shook violently. The lights flickered and a deep voice echoed through the walls. Who dares disturb the ancient guardian? The team looked around, stunned. The voice was not human. It was mechanical and deep, full of power. Captain Roran stepped forward. We come as friends. We want to stop the destroyers and save this system. The voice was silent for a moment, then it spoke again. Prove your worth. Only the brave and strong may awaken the power. The chamber began to change. Walls shifted, and a series of challenges appeared, tests of strength, courage, and wisdom. The team split up to face the trials. Warriors fought against shadowy figures. Scientists solved puzzles based on the ancient technology. Survivors shared stories of hope and loss. Captain Roran faced his own test, a vision of the past. He saw the planet long ago before the war. He saw a peaceful world full of life and light. Then he saw the destroyers arriving, bringing death and darkness. He felt the weight of responsibility. This was more than a battle. It was a chance to restore hope. With steady hands and a clear mind, Roran completed the trial. The chamber shook again. The ancient machine began to glow with bright light. Power flowed through the tunnels like electricity. Sarah's voice was full of wonder. It's waking up. The weapon is alive. The team gathered in the center chamber. The machine rose, revealing a powerful cannon, larger and stronger than anything the Deathworlders had ever seen. This weapon could turn the tide of the war, Roran said, but we must use it wisely. Outside, the sky darkened. The destroyers were regrouping. Another attack was coming, by bigger and stronger. Roran looked at his team. We have the power now. We will fight for this world, for the survivors, for the galaxy. The ancient guardian's voice echoed one last time. You are worthy. Use this power to protect life, or face destruction. The team left the tunnels, ready to face the coming storm. The Dead Star system was no longer just a battlefield, it was a symbol of hope. And the Deathworlders were the last line of defense. The calm did not last long. Captain Roran stood once again on the bridge of his ship, eyes fixed on the dark horizon where the destroyer fleet was gathering. The enemy ships moved like shadows across the stars, quiet, deadly, and relentless. The destroyers are coming back, Roran said, voice low but steady. And this time, they are stronger. The Deathworlder fleet had barely recovered from the first battle. Many ships needed repairs, warriors nursed wounds, but none of that mattered now. The war was not over. If anything, it had just begun. We activate the ancient weapon, Roran ordered. It's our only chance to stop them. Below on the planet's cracked surface, the survivors prepared as well. Their fear was real, but so was their hope. The Deathworlders had brought them courage and a powerful weapon. Dr. Sarah and the engineers worked quickly to move the massive cannon into position. The ancient machine groaned as it adjusted, its power humming through the ground. The landing team, alongside the survivors, set up defenses around the cannon. Walls of rock and metal were reinforced. Turrets and shields were activated. Once the enemy arrives, Roran said, we must hold the line until the weapon is ready to fire. Minutes later, the enemy ships appeared on the horizon like a black wave. The destroyers came with speed and fury. The battle began. Explosions rocked the sky. The Deathworlder fleet fought bravely, firing energy blasts and missiles. But the destroyers attacked in larger numbers this time. Their machines were faster and more aggressive. On the ground, the landing team fought side by side with the survivors. The air was thick with dust and smoke. Screams echoed through the rocky canyons. Captain Roran's voice came over the comms, steady and commanding. Hold your positions. Protect the cannon at all costs. The ancient weapon hummed louder, its power building. The engineers worked feverishly to reach full charge. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. A massive enemy machine burst through the rocky walls, a destroyer war beast towering and terrifying. It charged toward the cannon, smashing everything in its path. The Deathworlder warriors rushed forward to stop it. Their weapons blazed. The ground trembled under the war beast's steps. Roran clenched his fists. We can't let it reach the weapon. The warriors fought with fierce determination. Their armor cracked, their weapons overheated, but they did not retreat. Dr. Sarah shouted from the engineering station, the cannon is almost ready. 2 more minutes. The war beast roared and smashed a turret. The defenders staggered but held, firm. With a final burst of strength, the Deathworlders brought down the beast. It collapsed in a cloud of dust and sparks. Now, Roran commanded. The ancient cannon fired. A beam of pure energy shot into the sky, cutting through enemy ships. Like a blade of light, the destroyer fleet faltered. One by one, their ships exploded in bright bursts. The survivors cheered, their hope growing. But the victory was not without cost. Many Deathworlder ships were lost. Many warriors lay wounded or dead. The battle had taken everything. Roran looked out over the battlefield, his heart heavy but proud. We've stopped this wave, he said quietly. But the destroyers will come again, and next time, it may be even worse. Dr. Sarah approached him. The ancient weapon is powerful, but it uses a lot of energy. We can only fire it a few more times. Roran nodded. Then we must be smarter, stronger. We will use every advantage we have. As the sun set over the Dead Star system, the survivors and Deathworlders prepared for the battles to come. This was a fight for survival, a fight for hope, and they would not give up. After the fierce battle of the second wave, the Dead Star system was quiet once again, but the silence was uneasy. Captain Roran knew something was wrong. Enemies don't just attack. They watch. They wait, he said to Dr. Sarah in the command room. I feel we are being hunted. Sarah nodded, looking worried. Our sensors have picked up strange signals, hidden, moving beneath the planet's surface. Roran's eyes darkened. The destroyers have more tricks. They want to break us from inside. The Deathworlders had fought hard above the ground and in space, but now the war was going deeper, underground. Roran gathered his best warriors and scientists. We must find this hidden enemy before they destroy everything. The team prepared to go below the planet once more. The caves and tunnels, once thought to be the secret of the ancient weapon, were now a dangerous maze. The survivors warned of strange creatures seen in the shadows, invisible enemies, attacking without warning. Roran led the group into the dark tunnels. The air was cold and thick, the walls covered in glowing symbols. Their footsteps echoed, but so did something else. Whispers in the dark. Suddenly, a sharp hiss filled the air. Shadows moved quickly along the walls. The team raised their weapons. Invisible creatures attacked. They were fast and deadly, their bodies shimmering like ghosts. The Deathworlder warriors fought bravely. Their weapons fired bolts of energy that lit up the darkness. But the creatures disappeared as quickly as they came, leaving behind only silence. Dr. Sarah examined the symbols on the wall. These tunnels are more than just caves. They are alive, like a living network. Roran frowned. A network controlled by the destroyers? Yes, Sarah replied. They have been building this underground army for years, hiding their weapons beneath the planet. The team moved deeper, discovering rooms filled with strange machines and weapons. The destroyers' plans were bigger than anyone imagined. We must destroy these before the next attack, Roran said. But the enemy knows we are here. Traps and alarms went off. The tunnels shook with explosions. The team ran through the maze, fighting creatures and avoiding deadly traps. Every step was a battle for survival. At last, they reached a huge chamber filled with power cores, the heart of the underground army. If we destroy these, the enemy will lose their strength, Sarah said urgently. Roran nodded. Set the charges. We blow this place up. As the team set the explosives, the hidden enemy launched a final attack. Shadowy figures poured into the chamber, furious and desperate. The warriors fought with all their might, protecting the scientists and survivors. Just as the last charge was set, Roran faced a massive enemy commander, a towering figure cloaked in darkness. Their weapons clashed in a fierce duel. Sparks flew and the chamber shook with each blow. With a powerful strike, Roran broke through the enemy's defenses. The commander fell, defeated. Now, Roran shouted. The explosives detonated, shaking the entire tunnel system. The power cores exploded in a blinding light. The underground army was destroyed. The team escaped just before the tunnels collapsed. Back on the surface, the survivors and Deathworlders watched the sky. The hidden enemy was gone. But the war was not over. Roran looked at the stars. They will come again, but we are ready. The Deathworlders and survivors had faced the darkness beneath the surface, and won. Now they stood stronger, united against whatever came next. The stars were bright above the dead star system, but the darkness was deeper than ever. Captain Roran stood at the bridge of his ship, his eyes scanning the endless black. They are coming, he said softly. The destroyers will not stop until this system is theirs. The Deathworlder fleet had grown stronger after the underground battle. The survivors had joined forces with the warriors. Together they prepared for the final fight. This is more than a battle, Roran told his crew. It is a fight for survival, for hope, for the future. The ancient weapon, now fully restored, stood ready on the planet below. Its energy hummed like a living heart, waiting for the right moment. In the dark, the enemy fleet appeared like a storm. Thousands of destroyer ships, bigger and more powerful than ever, filled the sky. The battle began without warning. The Deathworlders met the enemy head-on. Lasers fired, explosions lit the sky, and ships crashed in fiery destruction. Roran led from the front, his ship weaving through enemy fire, striking back with deadly precision. But the destroyers were relentless. Their numbers overwhelmed many of the defenders. Ships fell, one after another. On the planet's surface, the survivors and warriors fought side by side. The ancient cannon fired again and again, cutting through the enemy waves. Still, the enemy kept coming. Roran knew the only way to win was to strike at the heart of the destroyer fleet, their massive mothership. "This is our chance," he said to his best pilots. "We will break their command and end this war." A squadron of Deathworlder fighters sped toward the mothership. They dodged mines and laser storms, flying with fierce determination. Inside the mothership, the enemy commanders watched the battle unfold. They laughed, confident in their power. But the Deathworlder fighters were closer than they thought. Roran's ship followed the squadron, pushing through heavy fire. His hands were steady, his mind sharp. "Prepare for boarding," he ordered. We take the fight inside. The fighters landed on the mothership's surface, cutting holes in its armor. Roran led the boarding party into the dark corridors. The enemy fought fiercely, but the Deathworlders were stronger. They moved quickly, destroying control rooms and sabotaging systems. At last, Roran faced the enemy leader, a cold, cruel figure who smiled with hatred. "You are fools to fight," the enemy sneered. "This galaxy belongs to us." Roran's voice was calm. "Not while we stand." They clashed in a fierce battle. Blades and guns flashed, but Roran's skill and courage won. With the enemy leader defeated, the mothership began to collapse. "Get out!" Roran shouted to his team. They ran through the shaking ship, dodging falling debris and explosions. Outside, the Deathworlder fleet saw the mothership break apart. Pieces fell like stars burning out. The enemy fleet, leaderless and broken, began to retreat. The survivors cheered. The Deathworlders raised their weapons in victory. Roran looked at the stars one last time. "We saved this system," he said softly. "But the galaxy is still full of danger." The survivors smiled, their hope reborn. And the Deathworlders? They were ready for whatever came next. They were the Guardians, fierce, brave, and unstoppable. The end.